So he is facilitating and just smoothing everything up, which is fantastic. Hi, everybody. I am checking you in as you arrive. Miss Scanlon is here. There you are. Thank you. And I see Meredith is here and Juanita is here.
Mary, it's really very echoey. Any ideas?
Turn your volume down and I'll try turning mine down a little bit. We thought we had that fixed already. Thank you. I don't know if this, oh, Juanita, can you hear me pretty well? Is that any better with the echo? How about Ellen Knaflick? Are you nearby? Or Meredith? How's the volume? Okay, good. I hear the echo here. Good.
I turned mine down and it seems to be better for me.
Okay, good. Yeah, we've
must have been on my end or
a lot of
something.
this with virtual speech coming into my office. And I
Juanita,
see
that's
that
because you're on the
Natalie
beach. That's why
Fowler
it
is
sounds good to
here.
you.
Very good. Ashley is here in person.
I have a second grader and 4K. Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations on you.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Oh, I said the only reason why you can hear well is because you're on the beach.
I hope we're not supposed to hear that because I can't hear you.
No, don't worry about it. I'm just talking to Juanita.
All right. All right. Could you sign in at the table up there? And since it is already 5:32 or 3, we might as well begin, although we're missing a couple of people, but we have Derek available to let people in. Are you guys ready to begin? Good.
Just unmask so people can
Absolutely.
read my lips.
Can you encourage people to speak really clearly and loudly? Otherwise, I will.
Good, I will do that.
All right.
Can everyone see me? Can anyone see me? Awesome. All right, very good. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. Obviously, today is the March meeting. I'm going to be leading because Tatum is not able to make it. I will do my best to speak as clearly as possible. If anyone has questions or anyone needs to speak up, if you could please do the same so that everyone can hear you and understand you. We will start with our opening prayer, which is a Lenten prayer. It is on the back of your agendas, or depending if you're at home. If anybody doesn't want to lead us in that, I'd be fine too. If anyone would like to step up and do that? Okay.
In the name of the Father, Amen. Lord, I know how much you love me. It's hard for me to be able to sense, but I know your love is always. Help me to use your love as a way to persevere in that. I am weak, but I know with your help, I can use these small sacrifices in my life to draw closer to you. Amen.
Thank you, Mrs. Turner. Okay, we already approved the February minutes, so we are all set on that. For Belong, Believe, Become, we have a handout on dying to ourselves. Did we want to just take turns with the people who are here and just everybody read a paragraph, and I'd be happy to start. This is from John 12, verses 24 to 26. Amen, amen, I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains just a grain of wheat. But if it dies, it produces much fruit. Whoever loves his life loses it, and whoever hates his life in this world will preserve it for eternal life. Whoever serves me must follow me, and where I am, there also will my servant be. The Father will honor whoever serves me. Who would like to start?
I can go. Bear with me, I don't have my glasses. All right, every Lent, a reflection on the power of the cross can bring a person to tears.
To endure such pain and anguish in order to bring new life to a fallen world is an unfathomable event in salvation history. With blood and tears filling his eyes, Jesus cries out, why have you forsaken me? Make no mistake, the incarnation rests broken on an executioner's wooden device of torture, made from hate and ridicule. Yet out of this experience, all things are made new. Anybody else?
I can take this off. Jesus was that grain of wheat that fell to the ground and died, but an endless supply of fruit has been produced. When Jesus spoke about the time when he would be glorified, he tried to explain how this process of new life works. An old life must end for a new one to begin. His dying and rising took place exactly for the purpose of providing us a way of dying and rising in him.
Stewardship calls for us to die to ourselves and live new lives in Jesus Christ. Like grains of wheat that fell to the ground, we can now produce much fruit. If we do not die to ourselves, we remain unchanged and unable to share in his abundance of grace.
With Lent drawing to a close, there is still time to make sure the old self is gone. Find time to go to the sacrament of penance. Take part in the extra devotions in your parish, such as Stations of the Cross or Eucharistic adoration. Spend more personal time in prayer. Then, when Easter comes, the fruit that has been and will be produced can be offered to God. Your gifts will be received with great joy, and they will be multiplied. For we have died and risen with Jesus Christ, so that we shall not die again.
The idea for response is find time to receive the sacrament of penance in the coming weeks. And for take time to reflect, what is one Catholic devotion that I could learn more about and possibly add to my prayer life? Does anybody have any ideas? Visiting Stations of the Cross. Yep. Anybody at home?
The Divine Mercy Chaplet.
Very good. Anybody here?
Possibly visiting different Stations of the Cross, because different churches and sometimes even outdoors have a variety of presentations of the Stations of the Cross.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to add to this? Okay, then we will dive into our agenda items. The first one that we have is the student apostolate, the March project update, the Hebron House washcloth drive. I'm going to hand that over to Rachel to comment on.
Thanks, Marna. So last month we had been sought out by Human Concerns Committee for a need with the Hebron House, which is a women's and children's shelter in Waukesha. And they said they have a very, very great need for washcloths. So we had decided this meeting that we would bring our ideas and vote on something to put together as far as like a washcloth drive that we can wrap up right before spring break. So whether we just use a week, like a weekend to a Friday or a weekend to a weekend, we'll keep it real simple, maybe just keep it within the school. So that's something that I will head it, so I will be the contact person for that. But if anyone's got any ideas, I want to build off of that. We've got to pick days. So does anyone
We don't have too much to pick from. I
Right.
would say Monday, the 15th is a week only from now.
Sure.
And then Monday, the 22nd, that might be the best time, because then we have a little more lead time.
Yes.
Monday, the 22nd through Wednesday of Holy Week, or do you want to have it finished sooner?
Trying to think. Maybe we should wrap up. I think a week is plenty.
I think Monday through Friday.
Or like a Monday through Friday, yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6
Yeah.
through the 26th.
I mean, those aren't hard items to bring in.
No, it's pretty simple.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just the washcloth.
They just-
Asking for.
That's all, they said if you had $1 million washcloths to give, they would take them all. Because they use them. Yeah, so the families like to have them on hand for when they get home from school and work or wherever they're coming from during the day, they can wash up and, refresh, things like that. So they said that's like, it's an odd kind of thing, but not.
Yeah.
So I'm all about a washcloth drive.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so. So it's a nice little student,
And it's a different
Project.
thing to do.
Right, okay. So what dates do we what did you say? 22?
22,
2026,
26.
perfect.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, correct, yes.
All right, so I guess motion to approve a washcloth drive school-wide from March 22nd to March 26th.
Approved.
Yep. Ayes. Any nays? Any nays, anyone?
No names.
Anyone at home have any input?
Sounds good.
Can we make it into a classroom competition?
We could.
I wonder, we try to, you guys can tell me best of all. We try not to overload with too many fundraisers, as you know. Would that become too much of an undertaking? I mean, like it's a penny wars kind of thing. Washcloth wars we could do. Do we need more lead time to do that? Is that too much for parents to try to come up with 10 or 15? Is it gonna get silly? What do you think?
Well, I feel like if we tell them ahead of time and then, send a reminder, give them enough time,
But
even get it in the newsletter Wednesday.
But in terms of a competition, is that going to be?
I think it's all a little bit.
Yeah.
People are probably still gonna buy the same amount of.
Right.
What did you do last year?
I just said, that we work harder, so like.
And I'll sponsor like ice cream sandwiches or something, or some kind of a treat for the kids, for the class. So the class that brings in the most.
Maybe like first and second.
Yeah.
And I could do the other one.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of count it like we did the shoes.
Yes.
If you send that, if they send that same kind of spreadsheet that they sent when we did the shoes, then you just count how many washcloths you shared it.
Yeah.
Day by day.
And honestly,
Any thoughts from those?
New washcloths or can they be used washcloths?
I felt like new would be good.
I think we should go.
Just,
I was just asking too, I don't know Colorado, we gotta know printers and all that linens and bins, but.
That's
Well, I guess we
almost
should
new.
find out what they'll take. If it's nicely
Yeah.
used.
Yeah.
They might still take it.
I think they would still
probably
take
have to
I
make
think-
sure you note that on the handout.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because that's a question.
We don't want people cleaning out.
We don't want people cleaning out the rig then.
Right.
I mean.
You have to be specific or that's what some people.
Exactly.
do.
Yeah.
I think it's better to be specific.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
I think it'd
We
be,
can find out.
yeah,
That's another good.
yeah, I'll look into that and then I'll give them a call tomorrow. Right.
Anybody in our audience at home?
Rachel Turner.
Yes.
Hello, this is Mrs. Cooper. May I fold my washcloths into bunnies?
Absolutely.
That's all
Yes.
I need to know.
My mom and grandma and aunties went through a phase when I was growing up and everyone had bunnies. Yeah, in fact, we should make it, yeah, or
That could be another
Washcloth.
level of competition.
right.
washcloth origami. Yeah.
You know what?
Yes,
Extra points.
that would be wonderful.
Or those that are folded into animals count as two.
Yeah. Bath linen origami.
As long as we can do that, I'm in.
Okay, good. Absolutely.
Rachel,
Yes.
will you make up a
Yes,
flyer?
I've already collaborated with some of our people. I need something with bubbles.
Canva. I said it's called Canva.
Canva. Oh, yeah. Canva. Yes. Yes. Yep. So if anyone has any other input or whatever, you can reach out to me. Otherwise, that's all I have for you.
Wonderful.
So, thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the Men Who Cook basket. Tatum got that together. She's got several items in there. I think it's around $100 worth of items, so she was hoping to take some donations for that. I'll have to get more information on that because she didn't give me a lot of specifics. Do you know any more about that by any chance, Rachel?
It looks really nice. I did get a little sneaky peek, but yeah, I think he agreed to $20.
Okay.
So, I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll follow up. Yeah, I'll follow up with her on that.
Who should get the $20 if people want to give it?
Tatum, the one that
Okay.
so that was
To Tatum Hayne.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, if anyone wants to donate to that, it would be to Tatum. All right. And then the next item on the agenda is the gym uniforms, and Katie is going to update us on that.
Hello, can everybody see me? I don't even know where I'm looking. Okay. So we chatted, I've been talking with Mid City Sports, who does our spirit wear. His name is Brian Borkowski, also owns Vino, etc. in Oconomowoc, the bar, and the Oconomowoc Pedal Tavern. And he, side note, gave us a bourbon and wine basket for the auction, which is really nice of him. So we basically, if you don't know the backstory on the gym uniforms, you're talking about doing gym uniforms for like a school-wide initiative starting next year. Just to, kind of keep things looking tidy, kind of make it easier on parents to have a specific gym uniform that they can just grab. We were basically looking at making the shirt portion of it mandatory for students, and then if they wanted to add the additional shorts or sweatpants, they could go ahead and do that. So it would have the St. Bruno logo. It would have the, Juanita is asking what ages and grades. So we haven't really discussed that. It would probably be whoever's required to wear uniforms already. So probably first, is it K5?
K5 is required to use uniform, but
Is it what?
grades 5 through 8 are the only ones that change clothes for PE.
Correct, 5 through 8.
PE in their regular day clothes.
Got it.
So I think it would be just those grades.
Right,
5 through 8.
5 through 8. So it's kind of looking like for the shirts, if we are going to make that portion mandatory through 5 through 8, he said we could get a better price if we bulk ordered them. So we were thinking before the end of the school year that maybe we'd do a one-time order bulk purchase. If we do that and we get between 50 and 80 shirts, he said we can probably get them for about $7 a piece.
7?
Yeah.
Good.
Between 7 and 8, probably closer to 7. And I was thinking we would just do navy, just because I assume that navy hides sweat stains better at that age. And then for the shorts and the sweatpant options, we were also going to do navy, like a navy short. The prices for the shorts, we can do a mesh option for around 13, 14, and then the cotton ones were like 10 to 11. He said you'll get a lot more wear out of the mesh ones. They're not going to shrink. They're not going to look kind of, worn as quickly. And the cotton ones, like I said, are 10 to 11. And then he also is doing a sweatpant. So those are like a poly cotton blend as well, durable, and those are about 13 to 14 each. And they're all like reputable brands. So the Gildan's t-shirt brand, and then the Port & Co. is the pant and the shorts. He's throwing a hoodie on there too, if anybody wants the hoodie. I don't know if we need to put that on there, because it's not really, they'll ever be really wearing that to gym, right?
Well,
Unless they're outside, like doing
it's
spring.
almost like the spirit wear.
Yeah, and some kids might like their hoodies are so popular.
Right. Well, I think we were talking about Tammy, though, maybe putting new hoodies and stuff in spirit wear.
Yes.
So, but they'll have access to hoodies and
That's
stuff.
true, but would it be, is this sort of a, what do I want to say, utility hoodie, a plain sweatshirt?
Yeah, it's like just a plain.
What's the price?
20.
Is it imprinted?
Yes. Right. So basically what he's gonna do for this application is make like a web store for just the gym stuff. So like if somebody wants to go order additional gym attire beyond the t-shirt, they just click on the web store link and that would be the approved St. Bruno uniform items they can wear if they choose to order them.
And then does that mean that the shirt also would be ordered through there?
No, because
I was
it-
getting excited.
Well, you could also put it on there, like if they wanted to at some point in the year order another size or whatever. But to get the price for the bulk stuff, we have to bulk order them together, which I would think we do
So
before
people
school
are
starts.
ordering that individually to like, oh, I just want two.
Right,
They
sure.
might pay a little bit more then.
Sure.
And however, I wondered if we could let people order up to a certain date, and then if we're not up to 50 or 80, then we can place extras.
Right, because people are probably gonna, if we're making it mandatory, are we gonna plan to send t-shirts home with people or say,
Yeah.
hey, where's your
You'll have to
uniform
work out
t-shirt?
that detail. I'd like to see if it might be possible for people to buy their own, and
Mm-hmm,
then we could make up the difference to achieve the bulk rate.
mm-hmm,
In other words, they order at $7 a shirt,
right.
and then we just order however many more to get up to what qualifies us.
So then, like, at the beginning of the year, when they register, they just have a uniform, registry fee, and it's just like, hey, here's your size, but this year, because you're ordering for the school, like during the school year, it would be different, is that what you're proposing?
We don't have the details worked out yet, so we'll,
So I would just, I would just lower the tuition, and people are mandatory, so that way they don't have to be like, oh, not my uniform.
yeah, I know,
It's like,
that's.
oh, gym and, whatever, computer fee, gym clothes fee, whatever.
Yeah,
Roll it all in the same.
but there are some drawbacks to that as well, and we've got to talk with the business office about if that's practical. That's also, I'm wondering if we might get that option of people just going online and ordering their own. And maybe that seems a little bit more palatable. Get your own gym clothes, it's only $7,
Mhm.
and there are some other things.
I feel like that's almost effective. I feel like
Well,
Hey,
could
Mary.
you, like, can you do it when you register? You know, can you wrap it all up in there?
Yes, Derek?
Just gonna mention, there's a few comments that are in the meet. I think people are just typing comments in there, so if you have someone that's monitoring that, just while you're discussing the topic. So,
I just pulled them up, Derek, thank you.
okay, you're welcome.
Okay, so Juanita said if you bump it to $10, you automatically have a fundraiser. Nope, Mary said, nope, too many fundraisers. She also said, consider this the point of changing is hygiene. With that in mind, you will want a rule that those specific items are only for PE days and not spirit days. Also, keep in mind, you'll need to allow students to order a few times throughout the year to account for growing and physically developing late.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Juanita. And then also that occurred to me, Rebecca, about if people want to order in April or May, parents can figure out what sizes they want to order for September.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not saying this shouldn't happen at all, but like, when you go back to school, you know, like, this is something that you can do, and all this part of it. Like, you're just doing all the things at once, and not like, oh, no, you don't have.
So that would certainly be the simplest for the parents, but we'll have to see if that's workable through the business office.
Well, and I could ask too, because my only thought is he didn't tell me the pricing if it's not bulk order t-shirts. So if we don't bulk order the t-shirts, the t-shirt price, I'm guessing, is obviously gonna be increased. But if parents don't care and they just wanna order everything on the web store all at once, you know, I guess they could do that if we're not gonna do a bulk order.
I think you and I should figure out the
Okay.
details.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, and if we're content with that, then the pricing, then I won't look elsewhere.
Done.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, the next thing we had to discuss was the school lunch and recess post-COVID. Whether or not the kids are going to be able to, whether or not they're gonna stay in their classrooms for lunch as they are now after the COVID restrictions have lifted. And same for recess being segregated, if they're just gonna be, you know, out on the playground in their areas as they are now. We did have quite a few parents chime in and say that they wanted to discuss that So I guess I'll open that up for discussion. And obviously people at home, please, if you want to discuss, go ahead. What are your thoughts on this as well as the people here?
I want to just say, while you're thinking about it, we really value your input on this. And the teachers have expressed some input on this in both directions. So let us know.
Well, I'll be honest, my kids came home and we talked about it and they said they really miss being able to mingle with the other classes and, see the other kids in the playground, go to the gym and have lunch. So that's what I've got to say from the input from my two kids. So I don't know how everybody else's kids are feeling, but that's what my kids have said.
I would agree, my kids are kind of the same way.
Yeah.
They miss that.
Yeah, I would say too, like, the Schreibers here, Jeff and Derek, both of us kind of feel the same way. Like, I think, kids being able to intermingle with other kids of different ages is just very helpful for them, just from a social perspective, right? And there's siblings involved as well. Plus, some kids might have friends in different grades too. So I guess that's my input at least.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Go ahead, Rachel. Okay.
I'm taking tally marks, so I would like to add that when the kids are in the lunchroom all together, they're not wandering or walking, but they do see each other when they come and go with their lunches. They are at neighboring tables, so they're in view of one another.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, when the time comes that we would go back, I would want to really set that up for success, to give some new explanations of expectations. The lunchroom needs to be quieter. We are going to enforce the idea of not shouting from table to table, because it does get very loud. And I think like Juanita said about her little ones there, it gets to be a stressful, loud environment. And I love the idea of the kids being together. But I want to do it in a way that doesn't create new problems.
But I don't think that it would be an issue if you have a discussion with the kids and say, okay, we're going to go back to having lunch in the gym. However, this is what's going to be different this year. If this is how you want it to be, you need to be quiet, you need to be respectful, you need to think about the, kids that may not enjoy all the noise.
Yes.
So, and honestly, COVID has been a hard time in a lot of ways. These kids are in the classroom all day long.
Yes.
I feel very fortunate that our kids are in school, they're fortunate that they're in school, but the restrictions, they've changed their lives, and I think that they're looking forward to getting back to some normalcy. Go ahead.
Well,
We have a few hand raises too. I
Yep,
think
I'll get
and Juanita
in
both.
1 minute. Yep, thank you.
Yep.
I also agree. I think just even being social with other, just even having other people around is important. But even just them having to get up and leave their classroom and go to somewhere else that they're not staring at the entire day.
Right.
Right. Like we used to do, when I was teaching and we did, I was at a public Waldorf school, and every activity we did was an in activity followed by an out activity. So if you were sitting down doing something, the next thing you did was up and you were moving, and it was followed by an in activity where you're sitting. So if they're sitting all that time in that desk and they're, that's all they're doing most of class, they're not, moving around a ton because we don't want them to. I think that's an important part that breaks up that monotony of sitting and, oh my gosh, I have to move, I have to get up, I need to go see somewhere else, let me get out of this classroom.
Right. Yep.
So I think that's, just for almost mental health,
Yeah, absolutely.
the expectation for them to.
Yep. And it is a long time for them to be in the same classroom with the same kids basically the whole day. I mean, let's face it, there are some kids that get along better than others. I know, I won't say which child of mine sometimes becomes a little irritable when someone is bothering. You're in this, it's the same thing as that nobody will admit that they have a coworker that they don't love, right? But
Is this from the teacher's
perspective, with the kids, just from the teacher's perspective with the kids, it's been pretty difficult having the kids in the classroom eating. First of all, I mean, it's the teacher's time as well. So our time is being taken away and we just feel it's pretty stressful.
Right, you
It's
need a
very
break, too.
stressful. We need that break. We need to commingle with our colleagues.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't happen. It hasn't happened this year. I mean, it's just very difficult for us, just as teachers, to be in that classroom
100%
for that
of the day.
half hour every day, 5 days a week. Right. The kids also need to be sitting by their friends in the class, in the lunchroom, talking. I get so much shouting back and forth because they want to talk to their friend across the room during lunch.
Yeah.
And then the getting up and and just that getting up and going and taking the walk down to the lunchroom and back and forth.
Right.
It's just a whole, I think it's
They miss
going
the
back
social
down to the
dynamic.
lunchroom, I feel is the most positive thing that that should be. It's from the teacher's perspective, I would say I could speak for most of the teachers and for the students' perspective.
Then building off of that time frame for the lunchtime, in my mind, when this all started, or this upcoming school year, I thought, oh, let them have more time to eat as much. Because it's always my kids, like, you have all that flour, that they're hyperstimulated, you have all that jam for lunch. So I thought, oh, well, your classroom will be easier to still. So I wasn't having enough time to eat. It feels like it's rushed. And he says, you only get like 15 minutes. Can you clarify the times for lunch? Like what time?
11:30 till 11:55, and then a bell rings, and then and then I'll go on to explain a little bit. And then the bell rings, and the kids get ready to go outside, and at noon the bell rings to go outside. However, this year, because of everybody needing to use the same exit out to the playground, we've started having the bigger kids get ready a little sooner and go out before the little ones. So 5 through 8 are going out by about 10 or 8 minutes. It's more like, actually it's 5 minutes to, because we pray at 10 minutes to, they're already getting ready. 5 minutes to, the big kids go out. 12 o'clock, the little ones go out. And so then, because the big kids went out 5 minutes early, they're coming inside 5 minutes early.
Okay, and when you say big kids, which grades?
5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay.
And then K5 through 4 goes with the bell schedule.
Okay.
Which is the noon?
Noon till 12:25. And that's where probably somebody like Landon is getting shorter, because the lunch timing has gotten better and better. The kids are pretty much getting their lunches in the upper grades at 11:30, 11:32 now. But for a while, and once in a while, if it's a time-intensive lunch, they're not getting their lunch till 11:35, 7 on a rare occasion. But then if you think about that, 11:37, 47, 50, there's 13 minutes before we're saying, let's pray
And then
in.
on some of those days that there's a more popular lunch, sometimes, I mean, middle school hasn't gotten 20 minutes well.
Yeah.
But that's true.
That's on the
except
popular
it doesn't
lunches.
happen on. And we've gotten quicker because I help with the lunch assembly and delivery too. It's gotten more efficient. So I don't think that's much of a problem anymore from here on out.
Okay. All right. And we had a couple of comments from the people that are virtual. Juanita had said, for the very little kids, it's very helpful for me to serve them in the classroom. They fit in the chairs better. They need help opening items, and it's quiet for kids with sensory issues. That makes total sense. And I don't know if parents would be open to saying that's fine for our kids to, if they're in 4K, 4K, 5K, stay in the classroom. And the other thought that I had was, my kids have attended a couple of different schools, and they had a big buddy, little buddy program. And this, just with that comment, I just sort of thought, both of my kids love little kids. They may be fine to have their lunch maybe a couple of days with the little kids to help I mean, Brooke would spend her whole lunch in there if she could. I mean, honestly, she would love it. She'd just pack up her stuff and go help all the little kids. You know, and that's definitely not going to be up every kid's alley, but that might be an idea that we could talk about for, you know, a possibility so that, you know, the younger grades, the teachers could have some help with those kids.
Okay.
So.
I think there are some people have their hands raised.
Yeah, and
Ellen does.
okay.
So does Brittany. The little white one.
Yep, got it.
I was gonna say, as a sub perspective, I wonder if could the middle school be for this year? The middle school be served sooner? Because the times I heard of the classroom, they're getting at 30 to eat.
Okay, can you say that again? I think we got part of that, but you were breaking up. What we understood here was, can the middle school start lunch a little bit earlier?
Could they be served first?
Oh, could the middle school be served first?
On those heavy and
On that. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, I wanted to comment on how things work for the little kids right now, and that kind of answers your question.
Okay.
So we dismiss our half-day kids at 11:30. I'm sorry, at 11:20. Exactly at 11:20, we also get our food, and we serve our kids in the classroom in K3 and K4. This is really important because we have to have all the kids fed, cleaned up, tables washed, and everybody in my room from K4 over to my room by 12 o'clock, because that's the time that Miss Bruno goes on her lunch break, because by 12:30, she's in another classroom already. And so we're on a really tight schedule, and we really do need to get fed first. And so we're getting fed at 11:20 so that we can stick with that rigorous schedule. Having said that, I'm sure there's other ways that you can move that schedule around a little bit after you feed us, but we really need to be fed first. And then on top of that, one thing to keep in mind for next year, this year really worked out well because my kids take their lunch recess at 10:30. And it's nice because the half-day kids get recess, whereas in past years, the half-day kids did not get to join us for recess. And that's something that parents have requested. And then another thing, parents have requested that the kids have some adjustment time getting used to the play set, because there's been concerns about the play set maybe being too large for them the first month of school. And so when we're out there at 10:30, we're able to supervise those kids in a small group setting in a much easier way. And then finally, when I serve my kids in my classroom, it's, you know, almost best practice because I'm able to scaffold for them. So I'm able to teach them how to formally ask for what they need, teach them how to open their milk, teach them how to dump their milk in their trays, and all of that has to be taught. So I definitely advocate that the older grades need to go to the cafeteria. But I would really ask that everyone takes into consideration, or at least has a further conversation at a later time about 3K and 4K continuing to eat in the classroom. It's been extremely beneficial.
Okay, point taken. Yep, we'll note that for sure.
Thank you.
Somebody else have any?
No, I think Ellen's good. If anyone else has a question, go ahead and speak up. I can't see everybody on the screen, so I can see some hands, but not others.
I was just gonna say that, like, from the more little kids' perspective, like, mine appreciate it not being so loud at lunchtime, but I think they also miss playing with everybody else at recess, kids outside of their classes. So that's all I was gonna say.
Okay. I have a couple of things to add. What I'd like to do is check with the primary grades teachers to see how much time their children need to eat lunch. And then if we could do some sort of a flip, once preschool is taken care of, maybe we can. And they all do get out in a pretty efficient time frame. But if we flip K3 through grade 8 and start with the bigger kids, that could work. But I think we need to do a little research first.
You mean not flip K3 though? Keep
K3, K4 where it is. And the other thing that we didn't talk specifically about, but is a different question, is keeping our general recess areas. This year, we're very specific to where grades can go. But even last year and years before, we still had some general areas. The big kids are always out on the far football field, 7 and 8. The littlest ones are always on the wood chips. And then I think, Kim, maybe help me out with this one. Grades 3 through 6 are generally in that wide open soccer area, but we also want to make sure we keep up with the question of safety on the soccer field, because we addressed a lot of issues with too rough play last year with soccer. So I think that's a separate question that we should also ask about. And if parents have specific thoughts about those areas, now is a good time to say so, please. Could you hear me, Juanita or Derek? Were you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I go?
Yeah, go. Yeah.
Okay, again, from the teacher's perspective, just talking to students. The students they would rather be able to intermix. They want to be able to go to the soccer fields. They want to play soccer. Not everybody likes to be playing football all the time. It's kind of like they're forced to do that. The middle school kids are. And there's people that don't like to do it, but they have nothing else to do.
7 and 8 only though play football.
7 and 8, yeah. Okay. So then I have those kids that are not involved in football, and they have really nothing to do, or the same thing to do every single day. Mm-hmm. They would like to go, I know Matt is one person that would like to go play soccer. They'd like to go just have a choice and a variety. They don't like to be, you gotta play football.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, and then the 5, 6 kids are not playing that at all. Right, but I know that they would rather intermingle. And I think that the football thing last year, Mary, I think a lot of that stemmed from some kids that maybe have been done and graduated.
I think you are correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, I think that stemmed from kids that, like I said, have been done in. So, okay, I just know that they would like to be.
Have choices.
Yes.
And maybe this is something where we can ask for student input as well. Mm-hmm. And because that's important, that they have a voice, as long as we oversee it for safety.
I think too, with, refining the discipline plan too, that can only help.
Yes.
For next year with reintegrating everybody.
Because we didn't have that in place till later last year.
Correct.
Right. So now that could be a reminder, just like the lunchroom duty. Right. Lunchroom things could be a reminder. Expectations.
Good. All right, anyone else at home have anything further to say on that? Okay. Then I think we will move on to a gift of thanks for Mary and Amy. They are wrapping up doing script for us. And did we get them? Did you want to talk about that?
And
okay.
Gift cards are on order for them. Yes.
Okay, so we do have cards to be signed then for them, and then gift cards are on order, is what Mary has said. So, all right, with that, I will pass it over to Mary then for her items.
Okay. Derek, this could be the time when you would share my document, please.
We're
I don't know. One's for Rebecca.
sorry.
I do. Do you need it right now? Okay, I absolutely do. And Derek is in the process. I'll take this off. Hello, hello. Derek is in the process of sharing my document. I have a page and a half of stuff, of material. And you'll notice it's in some blocks. And people at home, I'm sure you can see this now because it's on the screen. And the people here in the room have their own copy. I've got a chunk that's accreditation update. I've got a chunk about just in general things that we have accomplished this year. There's a chunk at the bottom of the page about school advisory committee responsibilities. And then the last section will be looking ahead. But let's look at the accreditation update, the first section that's at the top of your page. What we're doing is those 4 bullet points. And I certainly don't have to read through all of them because you can see them. But a couple of things I want to comment on. Everybody on our staff is working to help with our accreditation. And just in case you're trying to remember what that is, it is the every 7-year process where the Archdiocese comes and does a really thorough inspection of all kinds of documentation that we have by then provided and prepared. Juanita Gutbrod, who you see on your screen, is coordinating our presentation, our electronic presentation. Kim Scanlon, who is here in our presence, is doing the final editing because she's our English language arts teacher in the middle school. And every staff member who's a part of this project, which is every single staff member with the exception of maybe 2 to 3 people who are part-time, we are all part of gathering required documents. Some of them have to do with the mission and the Catholic identity in our school. Some of them have to do with academic excellence. Some have to do with operational vitality. And the 4th big domain that we pay attention to is leadership and governance. Each of those big categories, those 4 categories, has anywhere from, what would you say, Kim, 4 to 8 standards? And then each of those standards has a little handful of benchmarks. So multiply that by the multiplication tables, and there must be like 70 things that we are paying attention to. So we're looking for documentation for things like training of new employees, licensure of new employees, who's gotten their background check, which is really everybody, otherwise they wouldn't be here, who's completed their safeguarding program, what is the procedure in human resources, what is the training and the degree certification of our human resources person, which is Steve Spiegelhoff. What's my documentation as the leader of the school? You can imagine, so that's a bunch. And then there are many more. So we are all about gathering those up since, say, last October. Through the end of March is our goal to get all of the documentation gathered and summarized in some paragraphs that are part of the process that the Archdiocese provides us. So if you look at the, excuse me, 3rd bullet point, nope, that's not it either. Timeline. Sorry, I guess I didn't even make a note of that, but each staff member who's working does work on a summary of the information that they have found. And then Juanita is going to be continuing the work on the website that she's already got up and running. And then Kim will do the final editing so everything is nice, neat, accurate, and consistent, especially the consistency. Sometimes we are finding the need to create new documents because there are many things that happen verbally, whether it's a conversation or a little planning session that we didn't make minutes for like we would for a home and school or a school advisory meeting. So some things have to have documentation prepared. So it's a thorough, lengthy process. Our timeline is by the end of this month, which is now 3 weeks remaining, we aim to have all of the documentation gathered and all of those summary paragraphs written. And then at that time, Juanita and Kim will take over. End of June is our due date for having our presentation electronic and some on paper prepared and ready. Next school year, we will have a partial electronic review and a partial in-person visit. And the Archdiocese is the one who organizes that. And very similar to our visit from the Arch that's coming next week, Monday and Tuesday. I'll talk about that in a moment. Very similar to that, the Archdiocese will tell us what they need of us with people to be assembled and who gets interviewed and who they want to see in person and who they want to see online. It's a process that the Archdiocese does over and over with every single school. So we've got a lot of our work finished, and I think we're doing a really good job of gathering the information. Are there any questions about the accreditation right now? I see no hands raised. I hear no voices, so I'll go on. I will add that one more thing. The School Advisory Committee will be brought into the process of the accreditation. One easy thing to say is that we'll probably provide some refreshments when the time comes next school year, and we have the in-person visits, so we want to, they don't want us to overwhelm them with a big, as they say, a dog and pony show of an elaborate meal or anything like that, but it will be nice to provide them with some snacks and water, or maybe a cup of coffee. And some of the School Advisory Committee members will need to be interviewed, so we will ask for some of you committee members to be available. And there may be more things that come up once we get a little further along in the process. I'd like you to look at the accomplishments of this school year. They are many, and these are some of the ones that I thought about as I made this list this past weekend. We've been, compared to many other schools, we've been in school for all but those 7 days before Christmas, when things just got a little bit too loose and we found ourselves with multiple exposures. And so that 7 days, even though it was not something we could anticipate, I think it was a good move for our school. But wow, I know that we have done a really fantastic job of keeping ourselves safe, healthy, careful. And when we hear in the news so many examples of how schools are going through huge procedures and legal processes and preparations to open up again, we kind of get to take a deep breath and say, wow, we've done a nice job at keeping open. There is one more thing that I think some of you may be thinking about, and I want to be proactive to mention this. We are looking hard at this, our rule that has been in place about asking families to stay out of school for 7 days after they've gone out of state. And we know with spring break coming that this question will come up. And so I wanted you to know that we're looking at that. I'm going to talk with the teachers to get some further opinions about this in the morning tomorrow when we have a faculty meeting. And I will send out a notice of whether we're still going to ask the 7 days or whether that could be shortened or whether it will be adjusted in any way. So that if everybody's either in the Bahamas or who knows, Mexico, Massachusetts, Spain on Easter break, that we're clear about what we would like people to do, to continue to do or not for that return to school after spring break. Because I know we don't want to mess it up when we've come this far. Thank you. Second bullet point, 1 week from today, we will have our visit by the Archdiocese, which is 1 year delayed. This is for our status as a finalist in the Exemplary Award for Mission and Catholic Identity. Also, we've come this far in that process, and we're very hopeful that we will win this award. And we've got some interviews that we're in the process of scheduling. A couple of committee members from the School Advisory Committee. I'm still hoping to hear from you. I've heard from 4, and there are 2 more that I'm hoping I can hear from, that you could be a part of a group of 4 to 6 committee members to be in that interview, which is a week from tomorrow. We have students being interviewed. We have faculty being interviewed. Father Dan and I will meet with the team We have a 4-member team coming in person on Monday. They will meet with Father Dan and myself. They'll meet with students. They'll visit classrooms, and they'll meet with teachers. Tuesday of next week, we will have 2 sessions online, and those will be a group of school advisory committee members and a group of school parents. And that's the extent of the visit. Third one, we have a good community feeling in school, even though we have had to keep our classes and our students distant. All the things that we've just talked about that relate to lunch and recess have been a challenge. As you know, so many things have been a challenge this year. I tell people that, and it's true, that we have had to rethink every single thing that we do in school. And it's really meant for some time-consuming discussions and plannings and good collaboration. But I feel like very strongly, all things considered, we still have a nice community feeling here in St. Bruno in the school. Our service projects have helped with that. Our prayers have helped with that. Sometimes when we're at announcements, I will ask students to just pretend for a moment there are no walls in school and they can see everybody else sitting in their classrooms, and to try to remember that we are still together as a community. And we've had common needs to pray for, especially some health needs, as you know, in our community. And I feel like that has kept us together. You'll notice the 4th bullet point has to do with our service projects. And those are some of the things that we've still been able to do. The rake and run we managed to do with that driving out to yards last fall. The hygiene bags were really a nice activity. And the Christ Child Christmas boxes. And the kids got to see those. And we had the middle school students outdoors load those up, and we did it very carefully distanced. Another advantage of this year, another accomplishment, is that this year we are officially having 2 conferences during the course of the year, which is really valuable, even though some parents know that there's not a huge need to come face to face because their kids are always, successful and their kids might be proactive. It's very good for us to meet face to face and have the children present and have the teacher present. So I feel strongly that that is an important thing that we are doing. And then the last 3 are really a reiteration of things we've already talked about. Our behavior structure is showing benefits. We have a fantastic staff effort, amazing, with the adjustments that all of our staff members have made. And we've had great student and parent cooperation. I wanted to spell it right because I don't like to spell wrong, but what I really meant was we are operating together as a community, specifically working together. This next part is straight out of the Archdiocesan document that's called School Advisory Commission Responsibilities. I copied and pasted it in, and these are things that it's good reading for everybody on the committee, for every parent to know the function of the committee. There are lots of details and different activities, some of which we do more and some of which we do less. The things that I think we're very good at is planning projects like the Hebron House Washcloth Drive, things that are extensions of the service that's already a part of our mission, and discussing the things like we just spent time discussing tonight. And I don't think we have any shortage of things to on in terms of important considerations for our school: behavior, service, mass attendance. There's an accomplishment that we are now finally all back in church, which is just wonderful, and I trust everybody is celebrating that. So if you just look down those bullet points, the vision and mission are understood. The roles and responsibilities of the committee, the principal and the pastor, are understood and respected. This little point, there is an annual orientation for all school advisory committee members. I think that's a goal that I would like for us to set, that with whomever is the leader of school advisory committee, perhaps I can get together with them and we can plan for an annual orientation. Because I don't think we've done that since I've been here, and it would be valuable. We work, and next bullet point, we work together to establish procedures. Yep. The principal sees the committee as an integral part of the school community. You bet. Consultative body. You bet. Second last bullet, principal and the SAC engage in open discourse at meetings. And this is important, and I think we do it. Once a decision has been made, all parties present a unified front to the community. I feel like we're good with that. And then there is intentional, continual school advisory committee formation and succession planning. Succession planning, I know we've talked about over the years already. Formation, I think we can start to strengthen that with the orientation before the school year begins. Are there any questions or comments about that school advisory committee information? I see nothing in the chat. No hands or voices raised. Okay, so then let's move on to looking ahead. We've covered PE shirts for next school year. We're excited about the prospect of buddy classes being back next school year. And if bottom bullet point just for a second, we're also excited about actual field trips. Virtual field trips have been great, but real field trips are even better. And that's saying a lot because we've seen some beautiful things on virtual field trips this year. Okay, please jump back into reverse and go to the third bullet point. I'd like to talk about efforts toward budget items for expanding some new curricular materials into K-5 through grade 5. In this current year, we're really enjoying the middle school science curriculum called Science Dimensions, and it's from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, or better known as HMH. Ms. Mulligan, who, as you know, is our middle school science and social studies teacher, really likes working with it. There's an online component, but there are individual books in the number of different subject areas. So there are smallish books, not one big traditional textbook. That's such a good curriculum that we're looking at that as one possibility for K-5 through grade 5. And it seems that it's a good time now to see if we can fit that item into our school budget. Another one, FOSS Science Kits is another one that Mrs. Curry recommended that might be, that is going to be looked at as another possibility. So for the moment, we will see what the cost is and work on getting that into the budget, what a cost range would be. Speaking of the budget, we are looking at all budget categories. We're looking at needs. We're looking at really not expanding a lot, except for textbook materials, expanding some. Although this past year, we did expand to do the middle school curriculum, and that was a sizable purchase. And then if we're trying to get on a routine of doing some kind of a sizable purchase each year to keep all of the curricular materials up to date. So then the budget actually looks kind of consistent because there might be a $5,000 item every year. It just, it buys a different curricular piece. We are also taking a good look at salaries, and that'll be an ongoing discussion. Just so you know, that's something we're paying attention to. And we are also working to have our tuition rates coming out. I don't want to promise any particular date, but hopefully within the month we are able to, but I'm not positive about that, so it might have to wait until the entire budget is approved. So don't quote me on that one. Just know that we are working on tuition and we are working on all of the items of the budget. Fourth bullet point is exciting and does relate to science. We are using some of the funds that have been taken in through the last Men Who Cook auction, to funds coming also from last fall's Souls Walk for Catholic Education, and we are building up our STEM program. We are really developing, is the right word, our STEM program. We are in the early stages of planning STEM activities, starting with recognizing things that we already do that are STEM related, which are STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And at some point, we may expand that to STEAM, which puts the A for arts in there. But we're starting at the moment with STEM. We've consulted a lady who's very experienced in doing this in her school, a middle school in Erin, Wisconsin. We are looking at expanding STEM all the way down through K5, K4, K3 at some level, at some sophistication. And Ms. Mulligan is going great guns at doing some cool STEM things, including the STEM Challenge with a middle school team right now that is through Catholic Memorial. And what they're working on is a Rube Goldberg invention. That's the theme of the STEM Challenge with Catholic Memorial. So we've got some exciting things in development as far as that goes. We even had a parent visiting who's hoping to have children attend this year, who's all in for helping with STEM-related activities. Achievement data. This is the fifth bullet point. Last year, we got only partial Iowa test information because of the COVID shutdown. This year, we will have complete Iowa testing information as we are approaching the end. The Iowa window goes through March 20th, and we have grades 3 all the way through 8 doing the Iowa tests. The Archdiocese requires us to do 3, 5, and 7. So we're going to have to keep doing that. But what we would really like to do, and I believe most, if not all, of the teachers support this idea, is to expand our testing, not to overdo it, but to bring in some of the MAP testing. That's measures of academic progress. And MAP testing provides many categories, more than what Iowa does. They do more breakdowns of categories, and the results come immediately. So they really are much more useful when it comes to using data. However, even though I dug around, I'm still told by the Archdiocese that we must continue doing the Iowa test. So we might back down, if we start the MAP testing, we might back down to just grades 3, 5, and 7 to fulfill our requirement. But this is another thing that has to fit into the budget, because then we would be paying 2 costs for tests. So that's just kind of keeping you posted on the things that we're working for that we would like to do. And that covers all of my little points for what we're looking ahead to do. Let's see, 2 more things I want to say. Our enrollment is looking real good. And this would be a reminder to any parents who have not signed up their children for next year to please make sure you get your children registered. And it would behoove you to do it before the end of this weekend, this coming weekend, because the early bird pricing is still on and you save $30. That buys a couple of gym shirts. And our preschool is looking very strong. We don't have them all signed up yet, but it's looking really good that we might have as many as 27 students ready to come into our preschool for next year, which is fantastic, especially when you consider the date is March 8th. The other thing, I know that parents have been eager to find out about grade alignments for next year. We are somewhat hands tied when it comes to numbers in grades and needing to do combinations. I tell people that I have a couple of wishes. If I could get everything I want, I would get more fourth graders for next year, and more seventh graders for next year. And so I actually do pray for those. So you can do the same if you would. That might allow us to have more individual grade classes. Then my other wish is that we could just go ahead, if we could afford to do this, if we could have even a small class at every individual grade, which would allow individual grade level teachers to have lots of flexibility, ability to do differentiation with students, to do individualized learning planning. And we know it's challenging to try to manage 2 grades in one classroom. That's not to say it doesn't get done, because we know there are plenty of public school classrooms that have 23 kids in with a combined grade. So we have to remember we're in a good position. But what I'd really love to see is if we could manage to have individual grades for all grades, even with a small class. Yet we would, even if money were no object, we would still face the question of space in the school. So this is really just an update of where we are. And until we know more numbers that are officially registered for next year, we can't say firmly what the grade alignments are going to be. I would say if nothing else were to change, we would probably still be looking at a combined 4-5 for next year, and very possibly looking at a combined 6-7 for next year. I know grades would do better if we split them into their individual grade levels. That's why that's one of my prayers every night. But we'll have to keep looking at the numbers and do the very best we can for planning the very best education for every single student. And I realize that may have been a long-winded summary, but I think I've said everything you might want to hear.
I do have one question.
Okay, loud and clear. Rebecca has a question.
Just on that last point, how many kids would it take to make their own individual classes?
That's a really good question. Rebecca Ramage, if you didn't hear her, said how many kids would it take to have everybody have their own class? And I don't have a good answer for that. But what I can say is this year we managed to squeak by with 5 students in first grade. And that's a hard sell. We did manage to we were starting the year expecting 6 first graders, and that was a hard sell. And then one of them didn't return. So I think that's a numbers game that I'd have to work closely with our business manager to figure out. So I don't know. I'd like to say 7, but I don't know if that works.
What's the deficit? Those classes? Like how many do we have in classes now?
Right now, our smallest grade is our grade 6, where we have 4 students. Our grade 1 is 5, but I think for second grade, I think we have at least one new second grader, and maybe more for next year. Our third and fourth grade are the other smaller groups. Fourth grade currently has 5 students. Our fourth grade has 5 students. I'm pretty sure I have that right. Otherwise, in grade 2, we've currently got 11 and we're looking to 12. Grade 3, we have 6. Grade 4, I said we have 5. Grade 5, we have 7. Grade 6, currently, we have 4. Grade 7, we have 13. Grade 8, we have 12. Pre-K, we've got 12 students, most of whom are going up to K5.
How is the retention of kids going from like K4 to K5 and staying at the same girls? I know when I was at the in the past, that was a big thing, is retention.
The question is retention, particularly going from K4 to K5. It's looking better this year than it has in recent years. Currently, we have 12 students in our K4. 9 come through the Kettle Moraine Partners program. 3 are just St. Bruno students. And my understanding is that all 12 are planning to be here for K5, which is a great win compared to last year. Although we've got a big K-5 this year, but what I guess the summary of this is our lowest grades are looking like a really good building block. And then K3, I'm told by Mrs. Gooprode and Mrs. Price that all 9 of our K3 students are signed up to go into K4. So that's also promising. We have had a few families with students in upper grades visit. Not many upper, but today we had a 4th grader, 5th grader for, a 3rd grader for next year visit. But they're fewer and a little further between once you get grade 2, 3 and above. Oh, Derek says, just throwing it out there, if field trips and buddy classes are back next year, then all grade recess and lunch should be back as well. Normalcy is best. Agreed. Yep. Definitely, I see that value. Do you want to finish the meeting? If there are no other questions or comments, then I'm going to hand it right back to Marna Fieber. Thanks everybody for all that listening.
Thank you, everybody, for attending. We're going to wrap it up with Memorare, and Rachel's going to handle it. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thy intercession, was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, I fly unto thee, O Virgin of Virgins, my Mother. To thee do I come, before thee I stand, sinful and sorrowful. O Word of the Word incarnate, despise not my petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer me. Amen. In the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Any final questions or comments? Ellen, Scott, thank you for all the great information and discussion tonight. Thank you for being part of it.
Great. And Derek, you recorded the meeting, didn't you?
I did. I will stop recording now, and then I'll send you the link so you can send it out like Flock Mail or whatever.
Terrific. I'm sure people want to sit through